Joining us now, one of those people who is out there leading the fight against HIV is Meg McElroy, Director of Special Projects, including Getting to Zero for AIDS Foundation Chicago. Meg, thank you so much for taking time out today to join us.
Absolutely, Scott and Ellen. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Oh, our pleasure.
First off, how was your Thanksgiving? Was it a lovely time?
It was lovely. I did kind of come across a little bit of, I have a toddler, so I have that Thanksgiving cold that is now with me.
Yep. Yep. I think I'm feeling it a little bit myself too, Meg, so you're not alone. So can you tell folks a little bit about the whole Getting to Zero project that AIDS Foundation Chicago and folks across the country are a part of?
Yeah, absolutely. So Getting to Zero Illinois, GTZ, as we sometimes call it, it's our ambitious statewide initiative aimed at ending new HIV transmissions and improving quality of life for people who are living with HIV by 2030. So it's all about equity, innovation, community-driven solutions. It's really grounded in ensuring that no one is left behind. So that's a huge part. We just rolled out our 2.0 plan in June of this year. A huge part of it, making sure nobody is left behind in this plan. We're really committed to centering voices of those who are most impacted by the HIV epidemic. And we're fortunate, AIDS Foundation is fortunate to work alongside our health department partners at the city and the state and throughout the state, partner organizations throughout the state, community leaders, to really reduce HIV transmissions and improve the quality of care and our care systems that we have for folks living here in Illinois.
So you were saying with this new initiative that you rolled out, the 2.0 initiative, that you want to make sure that people are not left behind. What communities right now are being impacted with HIV infections?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, we've made significant strides in addressing HIV in Illinois, but it hasn't been equal and across the board. We have key populations that we're either not seeing declines as consistently, or we're not seeing declines. And that's in particularly, young people 16 to 29, Black and Latinx, gay men or men who have sex with men, transgender women, especially Black transgender women. All of these are really our priority populations. And we know that HIV doesn't discriminate, but our healthcare do. And so we really have to make sure that our healthcare systems and all of these systems that we operate within are making sure to attend especially to these health disparities and really address those on a systemic level.
What can you do more specifically to address, as you said, these specific groups that need the extra push to get them? Well,
zero? Yeah, go ahead. It sounds like the healthcare disparity is a huge part. Is it in terms of access to medication or, like to PrEP?
So I think the first and most important thing to note when we think about health care disparities, it's not any one thing that these communities are doing. It's not that somebody happens to be a member of our priority populations, and that is why it is that our systems are not set up for success equally across the board. And so ways that we can address these are systemic changes. It's really holding up the mirror and saying, if we are silent on addressing racial equity within our healthcare disparities, then we're not addressing healthcare disparities. Even if we do see great increases in things like PrEP uptake or access to clean needles for those individuals who use drugs or access to condoms. So things that we can do, we have a lot of really, AFC is leading the charge on a lot of really amazing policy initiatives. I know my colleagues Timothy Jackson and Aces Lira are pushing. We have a bill right now that they're working on called the HIV TLC Act, which is about treatment linkage to care and prevention efforts throughout the state. So I've got great ways, I can drop kind of our our text number for people to join our mobile action network if they're interested. Policy levers are one way that we address some of these healthcare disparities on the state level. So if people want to plug into AFC's mobile action network, it's texting AFC to 40649 to stay updated on kind of the policy solutions that we have to address this epidemic.
Amazing.
So on the state level, here we are in Illinois. How do you feel Illinois is doing?
Yeah, I'm proud of our state. I'm a lifelong Illinoisan. We have work to do, but we are one of the, we're committed as a state. We've made significant steps forward, significant progress. As a state, we've seen 30% over the past decade, a 30% decline in new HIV diagnoses.
Wow.
That's great.
That's amazing.
It's not equal. I want to always make sure, we got to always bring it back to that's not equal for everybody, but it's a huge thing that we should celebrate in this moment. But we're also one of I think we're the second state to entirely remove our HIV criminalization laws off the books. We're one of few states that have moved forward with initiatives like pharmacist-initiated PrEP and PEP care to increase access to prevention care. So we're doing really, really wonderful things here as our state.
That's because the really wonderful folk of AIDS Foundation Chicago was helping lead the way, and
right.
I love that. Okay. I'm not sure if you are able to answer this, but I feel the need to discuss. So what concerns do you have about the upcoming administration on the federal level in terms of just funding or just good old-fashioned science-based information for folks living with HIV and healthcare in general?
Scott and Ellen, if you could be on air for the next 10 hours.
Right. I'm sure.
And you can help us answer that, yes.
Absolutely. But, I think the largest concern that AIDS Foundation has is really, we have many, many concerns. And I am fortunate to work on a team with colleagues who solely work on federal policy. I am not one of those people, but I do want to share one of our biggest concerns is about the nomination for the Health and Human Services Secretary, which is Robert F. Kennedy.
Right. Yeah.
So, I think one of our biggest concerns is, of course, the troubling track record, the misinformation, the disinformation that he spreads about HIV and AIDS, the harmful conspiracy theories, all of these views which have been discredited by scientific and medical communities. And RFK is not somebody who holds a medical degree, should not leading HHS oversees critical public health agencies like the CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, National Institutes for Health, HRSA, which are all instrumental institutions that provide HIV prevention, treatment, and research. And so putting somebody in charge of those that A, has no medical background, has no business leading these institutions, and then B, not only has no business leading them, has really harmful and dangerous views about HIV and about AIDS is really concerning for us.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really popped into my head too, because again, as we've talked about many times, they're very good about spreading misinformation and just ignoring science. And again, I'm not sure if you can answer this, but has AIDS Foundation Chicago, are they building up any sort of initiative in terms of how to combat misinformation as we're moving forward?
Absolutely. So we are fortunate that we're not doing this work alone. And
Right.
I think it's so for us to be worried about, isolation and feeling alone in these really concerning times. We are so grateful that we have national partners who are in Washington, D.C. and throughout the country who we get to partner with. So I think that's the first thing is we are absolutely experts in a space and joining other experts. I think the other big thing for us is that we will continue to show up for our communities, fight every day, share accurate information. So I think that's a part of, our work is going to shift in 2025 to being reactionary. We have to respond to everything that's shared so that people know accurate information. And then I think a part of it, it's as we know things, as we know more information, as we're able to respond to things, I think it's our duty and responsibility to do so. So we'll continue to activate that mobile action network that I shared about. We'll continue as an organization to share out publicly and on our social media when we know that there's misinformation or disinformation being shared. And we'll continue to kind of partner with our national partners to do the same.
Yeah.
Snaps all around. Snaps all
it's
around.
It's a call to action for sure. I mean, the disinformation that's going to come out. I mean, usually people in positions of being Secretary of Health and Human Services. It wasn't something that was on people's, they accepted that even a Republican president in the past would put somebody on there that was on the side of science. This is a whole new territory that we're in now. And the onus is on people to really question everything and be prepared to fight back. It's going to be an interesting 4 years.
And Ellen, I think on that point, like having somebody like Kennedy in that position, spreading pseudoscience, what the biggest thing that it does, it erodes public trust in these institutions. And we know HIV denialism, AIDS denialism, that has a real world impact. It will discourage people. There will be people who do not get tested and do not know their status, or who won't treatment and who won't have access to prevention tools. And we know all of those things, getting tested, knowing your status, seeking treatment, using preventative measures, those are all the things that will help us get to zero at the end of the day.
Yes, amen. And, I know in 2025, AIDS Foundation Chicago is commemorating 40 years of service for the community with a big 40th year gala coming up this spring in April. Can you, I feel like I'm definitely springing this one on you. Can you say a little bit about that as you commemorate this this anniversary of the tireless work and service that AIDS Foundation Chicago has provided to us?
Absolutely. So, we are so thrilled to be celebrating 40 years in 2025. It's hard because AIDS Foundation came out of and came about because people were neglected. People were not being, nobody was giving HIV and AIDS the attention that needed and was due. And so organizations like ours and community partners across the state and the country really had to step in and step up and care for people. I don't have all of the details on our 40th anniversary gala, but I'm excited about it. We can maybe share that with your listeners later. But, AFC, one of the things we as an organization work holistically to end the HIV epidemic. It's not just about getting people preventative medication or treatment medication. It's working to address housing. It's working to make sure that we have culturally competent and responsive providers. It's about that health equity and racial justice. And I think one of the biggest things is it's funding and supporting our partner organizations through things like capacity building and collaboration. So Foundation has been really present in these spaces for the last 40 years. We're going to continue to be present, even when, people will ask me, what happens when we get to 2030 and we've reached functional zero and HIV is no longer an epidemic in the state? And it's like, our work continues. We'll continue to show up and fight for our communities. We'll continue to show up and make sure that people have access to health care, access to housing, and really creating a state not only where people can survive, but where people can thrive.
Yeah, amen to that.
I know that the date is the 5th of April. It's already on my calendar. Kathy and I are already scheduled to go. We have friends that have invited us, so I can't wait to be a part of it. It's the 40th anniversary. It's going to be very special. So people should mark their calendars now and wait for details to come out so that they can be a part of this special evening.
Yeah, and if things like, spreading accurate information and looking at healthcare disparities and fighting for health equity, and this sounds like something that, again, is a value that you want to live. Can you remind our listeners how they can be a part of the Mobile Action Network? Because this is something, again, people feel... I will speak for myself. I feel like a little helpless about things get too big. But if I can find out there is some sort of action item that I can do, that makes me feel a little bit better. So if you could remind folks of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So AIDS Foundation's Mobile Action Network, you're going to text AFC to 40649. That's the easiest way. Texting AFC to 40649 will automatically put you through the prompts to join that Mobile Action Network. Anytime we have something, whether it is on the local level, the state level, or the federal level, we will go ahead and utilize that Mobile Action Network to activate our advocates to take action or to just have accurate information in front of them.
Excellent.
And this is why you have been making a difference for over 40 years coming up here. For more information about all of the incredible work that AIDS Foundation Chicago does, please go to aidschicago.org. And Meg McElroy, I hope you get over that cold real soon.
Good luck with your toddler.
We got a lot of work to do.
Thanks so much, Scott and Ellen. Really appreciate you having me on.
It's our
And we
pleasure
really
always.
appreciate all of the work that you
Yes, we
do,
do.
along with everybody over at AIDS Foundation Chicago. Meg McElroy, thank you so much.
Thanks,
and
Meg.
I'm glad you had a wonderful, if slightly sniffly, Thanksgiving.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you.